All right, let's jump into another deep dive. Today we're tackling quality of life for expats all over the world. We're using the 2023 Expat Insider survey put together by Internations.
You know them, right?
Yeah, big resource for expats. They've ranked 53 destinations, taking a close look at things like healthcare and safety, the environment, even leisure and transportation. Basically, the whole picture of what it's like to live abroad. And I gotta say, there are some pretty surprising results.
Yeah, the variety of experiences really jumps out at you. Europe usually takes the top spots, and this year's no different.
Right.
Spain, Taiwan, Finland, they're the top three. But Taiwan snagging second place, that's something we should definitely explore more.
Oh yeah, Taiwan at number 2, that caught my eye too. Especially their dominance in healthcare, that's fascinating. The survey says over 90% of expats there are happy with how affordable and available it is. And a huge 60% give it top marks for quality. What's going on over there?
Well, it seems like a few things are working in their favor. They've got a universal healthcare system that people praise for its efficiency and affordability. Plus, they've really embraced technology, which makes getting care and managing records so much smoother.
Yeah, makes sense.
But there's also a cultural element at play, I think. There's a big emphasis on preventative care, on overall well-being, and that seems to contribute to the high satisfaction levels.
So it's not just the system, it's the whole mindset about health, right?
Exactly.
That's really interesting. And speaking of feeling good, the survey also highlighted how safe expats feel in Taiwan.
For sure. I mean, it's remarkable. No respondents said they felt unsafe there. Zero.
Wow, that's amazing. You know, I've always been curious about Taiwan, and I've heard a lot about how friendly everyone is.
Yeah.
But to have that statistically backed up is pretty impressive.
It really is. And it's not just anecdotal evidence either. Taiwan consistently ranks high for personal safety and freedom of expression. It all adds up to a strong sense of security.
Okay, so we've got fantastic healthcare and top-notch safety. What else makes Taiwan stand out as a great place for expats? I'm really curious to hear more.
Well, here's something that might surprise you. Their government is really strong on environmental protection.
Oh, interesting.
Over 90% of expats are happy with the natural environment there, and they feel like the government is actively supporting sustainability.
It's so cool how all these pieces fit together. When you feel safe, you're healthy, and you're living in a place that values the environment, well, it's easy to see how that adds up to a higher quality of life.
Absolutely. It's all connected, and the survey results reflect that. A lot of expats in Taiwan specifically link their happiness to the quality of the environment. In fact, one U.S.-American expat even said, "Taiwan is safe and has low crime. The trains make it easy to travel the island."
That's a pretty glowing review. It sounds like Taiwan offers a really incredible package for expats. But, you know, I'm also curious about the other side of the coin. What about the places that didn't do so well in the rankings?
Yeah. Good point. The bottom three, Kuwait, India, and Malta, they paint a very different picture.
Yeah, they do.
Each of those countries faces some unique challenges that seem to significantly impact how expats experience life there.
Okay, let's break that down a bit. What are the main issues in each of these countries?
Well, Kuwait, for one, seems to struggle with pollution and a lack of leisure options. One Canadian expat put it pretty bluntly, "I don't like the polluted air, the lack of access to nature, and the fact that there are no sidewalks and too many cars." You can really sense the frustration there.
Yeah, that paints a pretty stark picture. And I can imagine that lack of leisure options could lead to feelings of isolation, especially for newcomers.
Oh, absolutely. It can be tough to adjust if you don't have outlets for fun and relaxation. And then you've got India, which faces, despite its rich culture and history, significant safety concerns, particularly for women. And, of course, the ongoing environmental struggles like air and water pollution, they're a big factor, too.
Yeah, those are serious concerns for anyone living abroad, especially those navigating a new culture and environment. It really makes you realize that safety and a healthy environment are just, well, essential for a positive experience.
Couldn't agree more. And finally, there's Malta. Now, Malta's got a fantastic climate and all that Mediterranean charm, but they're dealing with some major infrastructure problems, mostly due to overdevelopment. One South African expat said, "There's too much infrastructure for a small island. The beauty will be ruined if not controlled."
So it seems like rapid growth can come at a cost, impacting the very things that attract people in the first place. That's a shame.
It is, and it highlights the importance of sustainable development for sure.
So we've gone from Taiwan, with its impressive focus on healthcare, safety, and the environment, to these significant challenges in Kuwait, India, and Malta. It's a stark reminder that the expat experience is just so varied, And choosing a destination that aligns with your priorities is so crucial. But before we get too deep into that, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about those countries that saw the biggest changes in the rankings. What were some of the shakeups this year?
Oh, get ready for some movement. Malaysia, Oman, and Hong Kong, they all climbed significantly in the rankings.
Wow, that's a big jump.
It seems like improvements in safety, some government policy shifts, and better leisure options played a big part in those moves. Sounds like they're making a real effort to improve the expat experience.
That's great to hear. It shows that destinations can evolve and make positive changes. But what about the other side of the coin? Which countries took a dip?
Well, both Norway and the UK experienced some pretty substantial drops.
Oh, interesting. What happened there?
For Norway, the main issues seem to be declining healthcare availability and rising transportation costs. But for the UK, it's kind of a triple whammy. They're dealing with healthcare availability issues and affordability problems, plus concerns about the quality of care itself.
Oof, that's a lot to deal with. I can see how that would impact people's overall experience.
Definitely. Access to quality healthcare is just so fundamental, especially when you're living in a new country. It's about peace of mind, knowing you're taken care of. And in the UK, it seems like that peace of mind is, well, harder to come by these days. In fact, one German expat living there said, the healthcare situation is pretty bad. For example, it is difficult to get an appointment with a specialist.
Yeah, I can see how that would be a major concern, especially for those coming from countries with more efficient healthcare systems.
It's a big adjustment, for sure.
Yeah.
And it shows how much these factors matter to expats. It's not just about the initial appeal of a place, it's about that long-term well-being and quality of life. And right now, the UK seems to be struggling in that regard.
So we've got Taiwan excelling at the top, Kuwait, India, and Malta facing some tough challenges and some interesting shifts happening in between. It's a lot to process.
It really is. But remember, these rankings are just one piece of the puzzle. The best destination for you is going to depend on your individual needs and what you're looking for in an expat experience.
That's a great point. It's about finding the right fit, right?
Yeah.
Not just blindly following a list.
Exactly. And that's what makes this whole topic so fascinating. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to expat life. It's all about figuring out what matters most to you and finding a place that aligns with those priorities. And that's something we can definitely explore further in our next segment.
We're back, diving deeper into expat life. Earlier, we were talking about how certain countries, like Taiwan, are really excelling in things like healthcare, safety, and taking care of the environment. But others, well, they're facing some pretty big hurdles. It's a good reminder that picking where to live abroad is a huge decision, and there's a lot to consider.
No doubt about it. And one thing that struck me as we've been going through these rankings is just how interconnected all these different factors are. Like, take healthcare, for example.
Right.
We talked about Taiwan's amazing system, but then you mentioned the struggles in the UK too. It really seems like having access to affordable, reliable healthcare is non-negotiable for most expats.
Yeah, you're right. It's not just about getting treatment when you're sick. It's about that peace of mind, knowing that you're going to be taken care of no matter what.
Absolutely.
That feeling of security is so important, especially when you're in a new country, maybe far away from your family and your usual support system.
Exactly. And that's where Taiwan really hits the mark. Remember those impressive stats?
Yeah.
Over 90% satisfaction with affordability and availability, and 60% giving top marks for quality. That level of confidence in the healthcare system, it really makes a difference in your overall well-being.
It's pretty remarkable. But of course, healthcare isn't the only thing that contributes to a good quality of life. Things like leisure activities, the environment, those matter too. After all, what good is a long and healthy life if you're bored and stuck in a concrete jungle, right?
You're absolutely right. A fulfilling life abroad, it's about more than just the practical stuff. It's about having opportunities to enjoy yourself, explore your new surroundings, and feel connected to the place you're living. And that's where Taiwan's accessibility really comes into play.
Accessibility. Tell me more about that.
Remember that quote from the Indian expat we mentioned earlier?
Yeah.
They talked about how easy it is to get around Taiwan, to explore different parts of the island. They have a fantastic travel infrastructure.
Yeah.
That ease of movement, it makes a huge difference for expats who want to experience all that Taiwan has to offer.
I bet. Being able to just hop on a train and explore new cities, towns, and the natural landscapes, it really adds a whole other dimension to the experience. It's about being able to get to know your new home inside and out.
Exactly. And it's not just about getting around. Taiwan's natural beauty is a big draw for a lot of expats. Over 90% of them are happy with the natural environment, and many of them give credit to the government's commitment to environmental protection for that.
So it sounds like Taiwan is hitting that sweet spot for a lot of people. Great health care, a sense of personal safety, a focus on protecting the environment, and easy access to travel and exploring. That's a pretty compelling package. But I'm curious about the bigger picture, too. What are some of the broader trends we're seeing in expat destinations? What seems to matter most to people these days?
Well, one trend that really stands out is the growing importance of personal safety and security. As the world becomes more interconnected and we see global events causing uncertainty, well, expats are prioritizing destinations that offer a sense of stability and peace of mind.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. When you're living in a new country, maybe far from your family and support network, feeling safe and secure is paramount. It's the foundation for being able to relax, enjoy life, and build a new home for yourself.
Couldn't agree more. And this is where Taiwan's stellar safety record really shines. Remember, not a single respondent in that Internation survey reported feeling unsafe there. That's a pretty powerful statement about the environment and social cohesion in Taiwan.
It's impressive for sure. But safety isn't the only concern, of course. What about the economic side of things? How is the global economic landscape shaping expat destinations?
That's a big one. The cost of living is a major factor for expats, especially with inflation being what it is in many parts of the world. Destinations that offer a good balance between income and expenses are becoming more and more attractive. It's not just about finding a job, it's about being able to live comfortably and enjoy a good quality of life.
So it's about making your money go further and having enough left over to actually enjoy yourself, right? Makes sense.
Exactly. And this is where some destinations, like the UK we mentioned before, are running into problems. Those rising costs of living, combined with the healthcare challenges, it can create a sense of financial strain.
Yeah, I can see how that would be tough. Yeah. Especially for those who moved abroad hoping for a better quality of life. It just highlights the need to do your research, really think about the long-term financial implications before making a move.
Absolutely. It's about looking past the initial appeal and thinking about sustainability, your overall well-being. And speaking of sustainability, the environment itself is another major trend shaping expat preferences. We're seeing this growing awareness of environmental issues, and it's influencing everything from what people buy to, as we're seeing, where they choose to live.
It's good to see that shift in mindset, isn't it? It's like a reminder that we're all connected and the choices we make have a ripple effect. Choosing to live at a place that values the environment, well, it's a powerful way to live in line with your values.
For sure. And this is where Taiwan's commitment to environmental protection really becomes an asset. We've already talked about how satisfied expats are with the natural environment there and how much they appreciate the government's focus on sustainability.
It's a great example of how being environmentally conscious can lead to a better quality of life for everyone. Taiwan gets to preserve its natural beauty, and expats get to enjoy a clean and healthy environment. It's a win-win.
Absolutely. And it all circles back to that idea of balance. Taiwan seems to have found a good balance between economic growth, taking care of its people, and protecting the environment. They're investing in the future without sacrificing quality of life in the present.
It's a model that other destinations could definitely learn from. It shows that a high quality of life isn't just about money, it's about creating an environment where people can thrive.
Well said. And I think that's a perfect segue into our next segment, where we'll explore what all of this means for those who are thinking about making a move abroad. What are the key takeaways? What should you be thinking about as you weigh your options? Stay tuned because we'll be right back after a short break.
We're back for the final part of our deep dive. We've been talking about what makes a destination really great for expats, and it seems like certain places, like Taiwan, are setting a pretty high standard. But as we wrap up, I'm wondering, what are the most important things people should be thinking about if they're seriously considering a move abroad?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it? And as we've seen, there's no magic formula, no single right answer. But one of the biggest takeaways from this deep dive, I think, is that you really can't just focus on the surface appeal of a place. You've got to look deeper. You have to think about the factors that are actually going to affect your day-to-day life, your long-term well-being.
Right. It's like, okay, beautiful beaches, great nightlife, that's all well and good. But what's it really like to actually live there?
Exactly. And that's why doing your research is so essential. Don't just rely on travel blogs or those picture-perfect Instagram posts. Talk to people who actually live in the places you're considering. Get a feel for the local culture and think about how your own values and priorities line up with the reality on the ground.
I think that's such a crucial point. It's about finding a place that feels like it truly fits you, not just a place that looks good in a photo.
Absolutely. And as we've been discussing, that fit involves so many factors, from healthcare and safety to the environment and the cost of living. But, one thing we haven't talked as much about is the cultural aspect.
That's true. We touched on it a bit, especially with Taiwan's emphasis on preventative care and well-being. But culture really does play such a huge role in shaping our experiences.
Oh, it absolutely does. And for expats, immersing yourself in a new culture, that can be one of the most rewarding and challenging parts of the whole journey. It's about being open to new ways of life, new perspectives, new ways of interacting with the world.
It's about stepping outside your comfort zone, embracing the unknown, right?
Exactly. And it's about recognizing that cultural differences, yeah, they can lead to misunderstandings sometimes, maybe even frustrations, but they can also lead to those amazing moments of growth and connection. It's all part of the process.
I love that way of looking at it. It's not about expecting everything to be the same as it is back home. It's about being open to learning, adapting, and really letting yourself be transformed by the experience. And that brings us back to Taiwan. We've spent a lot of time talking about its success in areas like healthcare, safety, and the environment. But what about the cultural experience there for expats? What makes it unique?
Well, Taiwan has this really fascinating cultural blend. It's both ancient and modern, combining that traditional Chinese heritage with contemporary influences. You can see it in the bustling night markets, where you can find everything from traditional street food to cutting-edge fashion. You can hear it in the mix of languages spoken, from Mandarin to Taiwanese and all sorts of other dialects. And you can feel it in the warmth and hospitality of the people.
It sounds like a truly immersive experience, a place where you can explore a rich history, but also be part of a vibrant, forward-thinking society.
That's a great way to describe it. And a lot of expats find that this blend of old and new, it creates a really dynamic and engaging environment to live in. It's a place where tradition and innovation kind of coexist, and there's always something new to discover.
So as we wrap up our deep dive, it seems like Taiwan is checking a lot of boxes for those considering a move abroad, offering a high quality of life across a whole range of factors. But ultimately, the best destination for anyone is going to depend on their individual needs and what they're hoping to achieve.
You're absolutely right. There's no one-size-fits-all best place. It's about finding what's right for you. And that's where the real adventure begins, researching, exploring, and figuring out where in the world you feel most at home.
Beautifully said. I think that's the perfect note to end on. Listeners, we encourage you to keep exploring, keep dreaming, and keep diving deep into the amazing possibilities out there in this incredible world we live in. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.